Rise of Planet of the Apes is at number 3.
Well, this was the thing. It was this or Super 8, and because we're not going to get to it, I really, really enjoyed Super 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great fun, and it was, it made me feel very, very nostalgic. But it was this or Super 8, and in the end, I went to Super 8 on the basis that it was probably more family friendly. But this is the thing I really want to see, because as a huge fan of the original Planet of the Apes movies, and as somebody who particularly likes Conquest, which of course, by which this is of course influenced. This is the one that I want to see, and I have heard really good things about it. So I am looking forward to it. In fact, I'm going to try and see it beginning of next week. So I will definitely have seen it by the time we get to next week's show.
Rise of Planet of the Apes at number 2.
Now, this is the thing that I was going to go and see on Monday night, but ended up seeing Jane Eyre.
Number 5 is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I can't believe you still haven't seen it.
No, I know, because the thing is, there's been so many movies out, I haven't been able to catch up with it yet.
Box Office Top 10, here we go. At number 10, by the way, Mark still hasn't caught up with everything.
And almost nothing that I hadn't caught up with, I still haven't caught up with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, because there's 8, 9, 10 films out every week, so I'm just catching up with them.
We start with an email of note.
Oh dear.
This is from Rupert Wyatt.
Okay.
Dear Ketchup and Mayo, I'm reading that out just because he is a person of note. 1. I spent 2 years navigating the stick-on-nails and popping flashbulbs of Hollywood to make the prequel to one of your favourite childhood films, Mark. 2. I've been on your show to talk about it, and you weren't even there. 3. I've now waited 4 weeks for you to come back from your cycling holiday around France, and you still haven't seen it. Would the good doctor please go and see my movie so I can stop waiting with bated breath to hear your review during your weekly Box Office Top 10. Long live cinema, Rupert Wyatt, who's the director.
I know he is, yeah.
Of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. P.S. Enjoy the programme, not least because it breaks down perfectly into exactly 1 week's worth of podcast car commuting to and from work through the nightmare traffic jams of Los Angeles. This means I listen to nothing but Wittertainment on the radio. Here is the guy who's made the movie, everyone else has reviewed it, and you, week after week, have consistently let him down.
And I've let him down again this week, but can I just say...
It's not even in the top 10 anymore, which is why I'm mentioning it. So now you're not going to be able to find
let me be... Okay, I want to be absolutely clear about this. Firstly, because it came out we were off for 4 weeks when Floyd and Boyd did the show, okay? And he came on the programme, and in fact, I know that I wasn't either. Floyd and Boyd are excellent, stand-ins. And I have heard nothing but good things about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I have every intention
None of this is any good.
Hold on.
No. So here's what's going to happen. This week, you are going to go and see...
around the edge of the other 12 films that are out?
Yes, you are going to, because Rupert Wyatt...
I know. And it's not that I don't want to. I want to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Find it. We're going to find you a screening. We will arrange for a car. No.
No, we
won't. You will get your own way.
I would have seen it last night, but last night
he only made it for you.
Last night I had to go to the View in Eastleigh to see Abduction, because because that opens this week, and the press show was while we were on air last week. So it's not like I'm not trying. I know
he's in Hollywood. He's there for us.
I know.
Do it.
I will, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And all right, I will try. I mean, I will try and do it this week. I'm not trying to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I'm really looking forward to it. You know what'll happen now? I'll see it and be disappointed, and that'll be worse.
No, you won't. You'll see it and you'll love it.
I will see it and love it, because everyone I know who's seen it really likes it. So, somebody whose opinion I really respect.
Anyway, Rupert, if it helps, I've seen it.
Have you?
Yes, and that's why I keep mentioning that. And,
fine.
And I thought
what did you think of it, Simon?
I thought it was absolutely terrific.
Did you?
Consistently all the way through, and you have to stay. Don't get up when the credits come in, because it's one of those films that has a nice little bit that goes after about 30 seconds of the credits. Yeah. It completes the story.
No,
there you go.
I really want to see it. I promise you, I'm not avoiding it on purpose. I've just been running to keep up. This week when there's 11 films out this week?
I don't care. This week. Sunday afternoon.
Okay, can I drop one of the other ones?
Sunday afternoon. You're not seeing a film on Sunday afternoon, are you?
Oh, will you...
Take the family to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
My daughter wants to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, you're a bad father as well.
But she wanted to see Abduction more, because Rise of the Planet of the Apes doesn't have Taylor Lautner in it.
Anyway, so I think we should start. We'll do the Box Office Top 10, but I think we should start with the latest, the most late of all, review of Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
So it seems perfunctory now to do the sort of plot setup, but essentially what you have is a vaguely unacknowledged reworking of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I should say from the beginning, I'm a huge original series Planet of the Apes fan. I pretty much learned everything I know about politics from the Planet of the Apes movies. And Conquest of the Planet of the Apes was always the most interesting one because it's the one that had the sort of, the uprising. It's the one which had the most sort of, revolution written into it. And I remember 25 years ago standing on the steps on Century Plaza in the back lot of Fox where the original Conquest of the Planet of the Apes was shot, holding the paperback edition of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and reading out the speech that they do as the city burns, because Tim Polecat and I were very, very obsessed by and interested in Planet of the Apes, and particularly Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, because it was always one of the sort of the top end ones. It was one of the ones that had some trouble with classification.
You don't have to establish your nerd credentials.
No, but I'm just saying. So consequently, I was in advance worried about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which, although is not a remake, obviously in terms of the previous cycle, that's kind of where it fits, and it does owe nods and winks to this. So the story this time round is that James Franco is a scientist who is working on a drug which is designed to combat Alzheimer's. They are testing it on simians, and very, very early on, there is a chimp offspring who is the product of of one of the chimps who's had this anti-Alzheimer's drug, which has been seen to create advanced intelligence. James Franco rescues the chimp from being put down when the laboratory is shut down. The chimp then grows up with him, and inevitably, you know what the story is going to be. The chimp is super intelligent. The chimp is going to lead it is going to begin the rise of the Planet of the Apes. The question is, how is it going to happen? Here is a very brief clip which we're using because it demonstrates that although this is a complete reinvention of the series, it does nod very knowingly toward its predecessors. Very brief clip.
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
No! First ape to say the word no.
Which is very significant.
Very, very significant.
But we all know this. We all know it word by word.
I know.
We all know what we think.
I know. I was okay, fine. So I went in being very trepidatious, partly because of my love of the series, of the previous series, partly because having waited all this time, I was very conscious that this couldn't do anything other than disappoint me. I was terrified of watching it and going, meh. In fact, I think what it does is very intelligently attempt to retell a story in a way that makes sense for the 21st century, in a way that actually is far more successful than what Tim Burton did with his Planet of the Apes. I mean, when Tim Burton updated Planet of the Apes, so much of it was concentrated on the design that actually, funnily enough, the narrative got kind of lost and confused. What's happened here is that the narrative is in very, very clean strokes. Although what they've done, I mean, of course, in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, what you have is apes being used as slaves, and the slaves are, overturning the hated human masters, and that's the beginning. But of course, that all happens in relation to Escape from the Planet of the Apes, in which an intelligent ape from the future is brought back to the past and then is raised in a circus that then becomes the ape that begins the revolution. This time around, they said, okay, well, we're not going to do that because the time-travelling, mother and father ape, that's not going to make any sense. So let's do it with, genetic experimentation. Let's do it with virus experimentation. The Alzheimer's thing is actually a very, very good way into it. And let's try and imagine it in a way that can make that previously absurd story work. And it's very interesting when you get these series reboots. You go back to, for example, something like Batman. When the Tim Burton Batman came along, he said, okay, you've got this iconic Batman. How can we make it work? Why does he dress in that way? Oh, I'll tell you why he does. Because actually that's a bulletproof suit. And that cape, actually that's a flying cape. And the belt, well, it's a utility belt that has these things. So, you say
he just dressed as a bat.
Well, in the original story, he is just dressed as a bat. But in the Tim Burton Batman, they go, okay, this is the icon. How can we make it actually work? Do you know what I mean? So you say, okay, well, actually, it's a practical suit. It's an exoskeleton suit. What's happened here with Rise of the Planet of the Apes is they're going, okay, we have to have the single ape who is somehow more advanced than the other apes who will then lead the revolution. How are we going to do that? And we also have to make the revolution in which the apes take precedence over the humans credible. And I don't want to, I'm sure everybody's now seen it, but I don't want to give away the ending. But I have to say that I was satisfied by the way they solved both those problems, because both those are pretty much insurmountable problems, and they've managed to get around them very well. I think the fact that there's been a campaign for Andy Serkis to get a Best Supporting Actor nomination is really interesting, because Andy Serkis, for his performance capture work, I mean, obviously he worked for his, Gollum and Schmeagol in Lord of the Rings, then, of course, King Kong in King Kong. And there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not performance capture, motion capture, as it used to be called, is as much of a thespian art form as plain acting. The answer is, of course it is. It's just like wearing makeup. It is just like wearing makeup. You just happen to, the makeup that you're wearing is digital makeup. And this is really, really well served by the fact that at the centre of it, you have a character, the character of Caesar, who does brilliantly bridge the divide between the chimps and the humans, who, in that email you said before, that actually that the apes are more human than the humans. I mean, I understand what that's a gag. I think the human performances in this incidentally are perfectly fine. But the thing that they managed to do is to give you a character who does that, because the whole idea is that the ape is raised within a human society, and that's what gives him the impetus to be able to lead the rest of the apes on the next level. But somehow the seeds of their own overthrowing is within the human. So all that stuff works really well. Beyond that, much more importantly, with the exception of some springing apes, I mean, every now and then the apes leaping around looked slightly too digital for me. They looked like didn't quite have enough heft, but it was a passing problem. And in fact, it says an awful lot to me about how much I like the narrative, how much I like the story, and how much I thought that central character of Caesar was really engaging. That even when the digital stuff didn't quite work in the chase sequences and the action sequences like that, it didn't matter. And for me, the key to what it is about Rise of the Planet of the Apes that really works is that it has just enough reverence for the past text. It understands that there is a generation of people that grew up loving even Escape from Planet of the Apes, which is frankly silly, but I still like it because it's kind of sentimental and cute. Even that, this is made by somebody who understands that, who also understands that it has to make sense in the 21st century, so it's got to have just enough underpinning of almost credible science to pull it off. But crucially, at the centre of it all, it has to work on a pun intended, on a human emotion level, and it does. I was really, really pleased that I didn't come to it and feel let down. I thought, you know what? Even though it's not the best special effects romp in the world, all the motion capture, performance capture stuff is terrific. Andy Serkis' performance is really great. It's a really intelligent script, and the lines of the narrative are clean and clear, and it does a really good job of solving the problem and making the thing credible in the same way that the Star Trek reboots now go, okay, fine, well, how would the Enterprise work? Or the Spider-Man reboot says, okay, well, why would he end up wearing that costume? This solves the problem. This was always going to be the most difficult episode of the Ape story. And as somebody who's a diehard, as I said, somebody who literally stood on the steps at Century City and read out the paperback, I buy that for $1. I really liked it.
An email from someone who claims to be called Jackie Song Warmonger from Cardiff.
Yes.
Thanks, Jackie.
Oh, I met the other day.
Did you?
Yes.
One of your personal friends?
No, she was at a talk thing. I mean,
on your tour?
Yes.
Okay, well, anyway, Jackie says...
say hello to you.
How long have we waited for this day, this happy day, when we finally get to hear what he thinks of this thing? Paragraph. It doesn't matter that the human characters aren't fully rounded. This is Caesar's story. I loved every minute of this film, from the stunning CGI to that chicken run moment with Brian Cox's character. Particular mention must go to the stellar work of Andy Serkis, who brings Caesar into our... Now it makes sense, because what she's doing is she's agreeing with you.
Yes.
We follow him on his journey and come to love him. As Rodman does, pity him in his confusion over his identity and cheer him on in his quest to find it. He cannot go back, only forwards to his ultimate destiny. I hope you liked it, Mark, with all its lovely in-jokes.
And the in-jokes are great, but the reason that the in-jokes are great is that they're not laughing at the previous series. They're laughing with it. Somebody had said to me in advance, when you get to the no moment, they'd said that in the screening that they saw, people tittered, and that really worried me. When I saw it, when I got to that moment...
You cried?
No, I smiled, a really broad smile, and I thought, you've earned the right to do that. And that, it's really important that fan culture, that fan bases, that fans of series aren't abandoned by reboots. It's also important that new audiences, but I thought what this did really well was to balance the demands of the people who grew up with the old Apes movies and the new audience, and say, okay, you can both enjoy this. I thought it was... You enjoyed it, right?
I had a great time, but I told you that many months ago.
I know, but I didn't listen because I hadn't seen the film, so I was just going, not listening, la, 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 la. And final question, didn't you think that it solved the problem, and we're not going to give away how, but it did solve the problem of how, the Planet of the Apes ultimately rises rather deftly? And
stay for the credits, that's the thing. Don't, as Child 2 did... walk out before the credits have finished, therefore miss the crucial reveal contained therein.
And the same way, if you're about to get Super 8 on DVD, which is coming out on Monday, stay to the credits, because Super 8 and the end of the credits has got the film.